Through the Leadership Lens is brought to you by Thompson Autogas. Thompson Autogas is the industry's gold standard turnkey solution for all your autogas needs. From funding to refueling and everything in between, Thompson Autogas is there to support your fleet every step of the way.
Welcome back, everyone, to Through the Leadership Lens, a podcast where bold voices, big ideas, and brilliant guests in the industry take center stage. I am your host, Freddie Riddler, and we're diving deep into leadership that inspires, empowers, and transforms. And now, joining me in the studio is my incredible co-host, the one and only Jessica Balderston.
Thanks, Freddie. I'm really excited about today's episode because we're sitting down with someone whose leadership style truly stands out. Jessica Phillips, editor-in-chief at BPN News, has not only made an impact through her work in the propane space, but she's also built a reputation for leading with purpose, clarity, and a whole lot of heart. Whether you're a seasoned professional or stepping into a leadership role, I'll promise you'll walk away with something meaningful from this conversation. Thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes. We are just going to dive right in, Jessica. So our first question right off the bat is, what does leadership mean to you and how has it changed over the years?
So I think leadership is honestly about not positioning yourself at the forefront. When I came into this role a couple of years ago, I quickly realized that a lot of my focus needed to be on my people, on my direct reports, that it was not about, my accomplishments. It's about our team's accomplishments. It feels great to get that title, but then you move on. It's time to be the representative of your brand and of your team members. And so a lot of the focus is on their development and them getting to have growth opportunities and helping them get outside of their comfort zone in a way that works for them, of course, and lifting up our team as a group and not, throwing somebody under the bus if we have a mistake somewhere. So what I've learned about leadership is that it really is about putting other people before yourself, not, to the detriment of your own mental health, but, not making it about you. It really is about making sure that you're there for your people. And I think when I first came into this role to talk about, how my style has changed over time, I felt, it was overwhelming to come into such a big role sooner than I thought I would, quite honestly. And I felt like I was failing my direct reports at times because it was just a lot to do. I was also planning a wedding at the same time. So I was a little bit, like the cup was overflowing. And so I worried at the time that I really was failing them because I wasn't thinking about them enough. And I think over time, as that transition has calmed down, I know that they don't hold that against me, but I know that they have told me they've seen a difference in how I'm able to navigate being the leader of the team, making the decisions, and also really putting forth a strategy for them to make sure that they're getting the development that they need. So I haven't been in the position a super long time for it to, change over a decade. But I do know that after that first year where you're just really trying to make everything work, then you can finally start to focus on, okay, this is what I want for my team. This is what I want for our brand. And this is where I want to see you guys and our brand in the future. So just having that time to grow has been really valuable for me.
That's great. And I'm going to touch on that in just a second. But we're doing something a little bit different on our podcast. We're going to sprinkle in some fun questions throughout the podcast. So it's not such a question, answer. We're going to have a little fun throughout the whole thing too. So really quick, Jess, how do you celebrate a team win?
So we actually have this great platform in our company. BPN is with Kava Media Group. So in our company, we have this platform called Motivosity, where we have $4 a month to give to people in the company to celebrate them and what they've done. And So I use that for my team, as a way to encourage them if they've done something that I think, should be shouted out for our company. And then, of course, if we have a meeting as a department, editorial department, where, we have time to share, that's a great place also to talk about their accomplishments.
Let me ask you now another question, because I'm going to go back to a year ago. You said, it took a little bit of time to get you into that role where you felt like you were being, where you were adding value to your role, that you weren't feeling like you weren't fulfilling all of your projects within a certain time frame or effectively or whatever it was. What changed? What do you feel? Because now you're like, I feel great. Everything's kind of flowing. I feel good about my position. But a year ago, it didn't feel that way. What changed between 1 year? Because they talk about how leadership changes throughout time. This is a perfect way to kind of let our viewers and our audience understand that just because they're having a frustrating time right now, it can change. So maybe share your story of what changed within that year time frame at BPN.
Yeah, I'd say honestly, just very basic is having a year in the role. It's cyclical in publishing, as I know it is in most roles, where the same things are going to come around each year. And in that first year, it would be like, oh, shoot, I need to work on this. And oh, no, that's coming up soon. I need to get this done. And so seeing like the full year roll out and being able to better anticipate in the following year when those things are coming up, I think was a huge help, just to familiarize myself with it and not feel like I was just trying to stay afloat the whole time. And also, it's just that feeling for me. I've always had to overcome, I don't know if it's tied to imposter syndrome at all, but there is like a feeling of, I don't know what I don't know. So it's like learning what we're capable of producing at our company and on our brand, what kind of products we can put out, the things we can do with our team. Learning what those things are in my leadership role in the first year, I think helped me better strategize for the second year after that. And so, I really think just living in the role is what helped that change for me. And just asking all the questions that I could to my our director of content, who is actually Elizabeth Manning, who used to be the VPN editor. So there was some added value there of she could tell me, specifically for VPN, what she might have done, just getting her guidance there. That also was a huge help in getting to a place where I felt a lot more comfortable with my role.
I feel like some people maybe struggle with that fact of like, I don't want to ask the question, or you feel like you're a burden, or what advice would you give somebody in kind of that role where they feel like, I don't want to ask the question, but I want to learn?
Yeah, I totally get it, because it feels like if I was qualified for this role, I should know the answer, right? And the more questions that I need to ask is my manager going to think, oh, she wasn't ready for this. But I think what she taught me and what I am also trying to instill in my direct reports as well, and they're great, is that if you don't ask those questions, that is more of a sign that you're not engaged in the role, that you're not trying to, or it might be a sign, I should say, that you're not trying to develop. Or that maybe you even think that you're more ready than you are and you're not reaching out for help when you might need it. I don't mean that to sound negative, but just to say, like, it might be a sign that you actually do need that development if you're not actively asking those questions, because that is how you are going to grow and obviously learn more.
100%. I feel like just that thirst for knowledge, it comes along with having those questions that you ask.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, are you ready for a sprinkled question in here?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, I have to preface this one where there's not a right or wrong answer to this question. Just say the first thing that pops in your head.
Oh boy.
Okay, ready? If you were a pickle in a jar of pickles, where would you be? The top, the middle, or the bottom, and why?
Maybe in the middle?
I like the
But I
middle.
don't know why.
That's perfect. Just say the first thing. Yep.
Yeah, maybe it's like maybe it's even where I am, in my career, because at our company we have an executive team, and so I'm on like the middle management in the company, whereas like on the brand, I'm over the brand. So like maybe that's what I'm thinking, kind of in the middle, just kind of floating there. I don't necessarily want to be at the top of the ladder, so maybe that's what I'm thinking.
That's like subconsciously you're like, yep, I'm in the middle.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
I like it there.
You get to hang out with your friends, but you're not the last one in the jar. Yep.
Yep.
Yes, exactly.
So Jessica, how did you know that you were like ready to step up into more of a leadership role? And kind of what's your story behind when you were ready to step up into that?
It's funny because I think that the way that I knew I was ready is because I turned down the opportunity for this role on another brand at our company. So the person that was the lead editor on that brand had left the company, and they were looking into hiring internally. And it was offered to me to interview for it. And I decided that it just didn't feel right for me. I didn't want to leave the propane industry. It was a lot thinking about going from all the knowledge that I've built up in the propane industry and moving to a totally different one, and having to lead it and also learn about it at the same time. And it just didn't feel right. And so this job actually came up not too long after we did some organizational restructuring. Like I said, Elizabeth Manning became our director of content over the whole department. And then that opportunity opened up to move into her role. And I thought, if I didn't feel ready a couple of months ago, why do I feel ready now? And I think it's because I waited. I think it's because I knew I had made a wise decision for myself. And so having an opportunity that felt like a better fit for me gave me a little more confidence. Well, a lot more, I should say, confidence in stepping into that role and feeling like I was ready. I think it's the willingness to wait for the right opportunity is what made me feel like I was ready and had made the right decision.
That happens quite a bit, Jess, when you have those leadership styles. They're not, you don't know when you get them, right? And in fact, you don't even know you have them until somebody asks about it. And you look back and say, okay, I think I developed that leadership skill at this project or whatever event that was happening. And we hear that quite a bit on this podcast over and over. Like, it's something that you can't just tell somebody, hey, in the next 10 years, you're going to be a leader. It's almost like a gift, right? It's just going to come naturally and you can't force it. So, you were talking about development, and I have a question about development. But before we get to that one, my little fun question for you to kind of loosen the air a little bit. What do you keep in the trunk of your car? And if it's anything illegal, you don't have to answer. We can cut that piece out.
No. It's nothing overly personal. Right now, quite honestly, it's several bags of clothes that I need to take to the thrift store. But
Yes.
on a regular day, my husband has me keep this little box that you can plug into your tire when the pressure is low, and you just hook it up to the adapter in the car, and then hook it up to your tire, and it gives it the pressure that it needs instead of having to go to a gas station. So we always make sure I have that. And then I also, it should be in the front of my car, but it's in the trunk of my car. It's one of those cup holders that is like larger at the top, so you can fit a bigger cup into your
Yes.
holder.
It
I
does
need
really
one of
well in your
those.
trunk when you try to put something big in there. It's like, well, this is
Right.
going to spill.
Yeah, it's really helpful to have that in the trunk of all places, but at least it's with me.
That's fun. That's fun. Well, good for you for giving away some clothes to the thrift store. It goes to good causes. So let's talk about development a little bit. So you kind of found out when you became this leader, right? Now that you're considered a leader, and leader has many faces of it. It's not just a specific role. But now that you're at this leadership level, it's going to require that continual growth. So how do you ensure that your skills stay sharp and that you continue to evolve in such a dynamic industry? Because our industry changes all the time, and you're with the magazine team where you're constantly writing stories and capturing different audiences and capturing different stories. How do you continue to ensure that your skills as a leadership continue to evolve?
I think, there is an element of staying really keyed into updates from the industry. I have to be keyed into those, obviously, for our role in news. So the more updates that I see come through from MPGA or any of the associations and our press releases that we get, like that builds up that knowledge over time, of course. And then also getting to attend in-person events and hear more of the, maybe the technical side of things that I don't understand as well. The more and more I hear people talking about that in the industry, the more it starts to make sense. I've only been in propane, let's say it was 2021 and it's 2025, so it's been 4 years. So that's plenty of time to learn, but there's still so much time to continue learning because it is a bit of a dense subject. So I think, staying on top of those updates really teaches us a lot. And on the publishing side, there's a lot of talk about AI. There's a lot of talk about SEO because that's also changing because of AI on Google. So, we're adapting as well to the needs that we have there and doing some training to make sure that we know what we're talking about, with getting our content out there for the industry to see. And also trying to reframe our content to be more about the content than just the format that it comes in. Our print magazine is still our bread and butter. People in this industry love that print, like having the actual print magazine in their hands. But we're also trying to adapt to the year 2025 and making sure that our content is relevant on all platforms. And that also takes, I think, some development and trying to wrap our heads around that, making sure that we're delivering our content in the best way that works for the propane industry.
I would like to say really quick that it makes my heart happy that you said some people like printed material. I may or may not have a conversation with some people at RCC about, do we want a digital calendar or a printed one? I lost, but I wanted the printed one.
Love it.
I'm a paper person. Here's my notepad.
Well, our other brands at our company, they are not seeing that trend as much. Their print readership is going down, but BPN's has remained strong. And we love that because when you're an editor, you love a print magazine. So we love that you guys love it. So, but yeah, we are trying to adapt to a more digital world while keeping a huge focus on our print magazine. So that takes, strategizing and learning how to adapt quickly and change our thinking about how we present the content. It's a big push we've had this year. It's been a lot, but it's a really important one, I think.
Definitely. Could you speak a little bit more about AI and how your company has embraced that, or being an editor, like how I feel like AI would play a huge role in your job, and does it?
I would say no, it doesn't, just because when you're in publishing, you have that huge commitment to human generated content, right? There are publishing companies out there that are pushing more AI generated content. And at BPN and Calvin Media Group, that's just not what we believe in. We want our readers to have content that comes from actual experts in the industry, that comes from our team. We use AI at the most to, I might use it to help me generate some questions to ask people, just to think of different angles that I might not have thought of on my own. Or it might help me create like a punchy headline. But we also try to avoid using AI images in our print magazine. And if we do use it, we notate that to the reader because we want to be very upfront about when AI is involved with anything. But we do have a very strong commitment to human generated content remaining what we publish for our readers. Because especially in the propane industry, if we publish a photo of somebody from our stock image library that we use that is not exactly, they're not wearing the exact correct PPE, we will hear about it. And as we should be committed to that. And so if we can't even necessarily always trust a stock photo that was taken in real life, I would never want to trust AI to get content correct for propane because it's so important for safety for it to be correct. So I always want to make sure that it's the experts in the industry who are writing it, because they know what's right and what is safe to avoid catastrophe.
That's not even something that I even thought of, like, for you guys. I love that you guys are staying true to your roots, but you still kind of leverage AI in different ways to benefit you guys. But the core of it, you're staying to your roots. So that's amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, switching gears a little bit. What is your ideal vacation?
You know, I just went on a reading retreat last year with a couple of my friends. It might sound super boring to other people, but we went up to Michigan, near like the Holland area, just because it's pretty, and rented an Airbnb. And some days we went out and about, and some days we just stayed in and we read books, and we did a PowerPoint presentation on the books that we had read that year. And it was so low key and just so nice. So that, I mean, I loved it. It might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I did really love just that laid back feel. And then of course I love going to Disney World. So
I think you just hit on Freddie and Mai's ideal vacation. I'm the book reader. He'll go to Disney World.
oh, so I covered you both.
Yeah,
Yep,
you're
that worked
perfect.
out very well.
Yeah. So Jessica, you kind of touched a little bit on, like, you didn't want to leave the propane industry after being in here for a couple of years. I feel like our industry is very specialized. It's like a family, you know, everybody in there. What advice would you give to somebody who's wanting to kind of transition into our industry, as it's such a niche?
So I would say definitely go to the in-person events whenever you have the opportunity, because that's where, with our brand, Natalie Peel and her father owning the magazine for such a long time, they were huge names in the industry. And so it was kind of hard to come in as a new and also very young team, and be like, are they going to want us here? After they've had, such a legacy that came in before us. And the answer was yes. We had very good reception. People welcomed us in. We immediately felt that familial environment. And each year we come back. Of course, we go to other shows, but I'm specifically talking about the MPGA Expo, I think, is where you're just going to see everybody, basically. And year after year, when we keep coming back, I should say, I just feel it more and more. It's like, oh, I know so many more people recognize us. And so I think just getting your face out there, because it's so hard right now, the past several years with everything being so remote. Our company is fully remote, so we don't even see our team, face to face every day. So I think just putting yourself out there, meeting people in person is really the way to go about coming into this industry, to meet people. And also with those educational sessions that you have at the shows, just a very easy way to start familiarizing yourself with a topic that you might have no knowledge of beforehand. I found that super beneficial. I couldn't get that out. I found that super beneficial for me at the shows to go to those educational sessions.
Well,
So,
since you brought it up, I got to plug the Women in Propane Council, right? They meet twice a year at the NPGA Board of Director meeting, one in the fall, one in the spring. This year, the fall is going to be in Burlington, Vermont. So if you're watching this, you should go. But Jess is right. If you go to a Board of Director meeting and you sit in with the Women in Propane Committee or the Scholarship Committee or the Service Section Committee, or there's tons of committees. There's also member service classes going on, but definitely go. You will network with other people in the industry, whether it's the service side or the marketer side, doesn't matter. It's amazing how fast you can grow personally and with your business by just saying hi to someone and having a conversation with them. So definitely check that out. So Jess, this is a great question. I love this question. It's one of the OG questions of our podcast. If you could go back and give some advice to the 16-year-old version of you, what advice would you give that 16-year-old?
So I'm going to get a little bit into mental health talk here. If that's okay.
Great.
But I would tell my 16-year-old self that, therapy is healthcare. I didn't necessarily need therapy when I was 16, but as I grew older, I dealt more and more with anxiety. And I did not go to therapy until I had a car wreck on the way home from the 2022 NPHA Expo, actually. And I was fine, but I did get diagnosed with PTSD after that. But that was like my catalyst to going. And I still go because it's just so wonderful to have somebody to help you, separate yourself from your anxiety. That has been a huge benefit for me. That my anxiety is not me. And it is just a huge help for navigating the world. Not everybody has anxiety. That might not be what therapy benefits them for, but I would have told my 16-year-old self, start going to therapy at some point before it's like absolutely necessary, because it's just as good as like going to the doctor each year to make sure that your physical health is in good condition. Going to therapy keeps your mental health in a good state. And so that's what I would have told my 16-year-old self is at some point soon, go, so that as you get older, that anxiety won't prey on you as much.
It's just a bunch of lies. That's all anxiety is. And I love that you brought that up, because I have a saying for people that go to therapy: there's nothing wrong with you. That's there. You're absolutely right. There's no difference being, allergic to something that you have to take Zyrtec for allergies with dogs. Therapy is completely normal. And I'm glad you put that into our podcast. That's good angle on that. So another way of therapy, I think, is mentorship, right? And the Women of Propane Council, they have this mentorship program called Knowledge Exchange. So we'll give a little shout out to the team that keeps that rolling. And I know Landon was on as a mentee of the Knowledge Exchange, which is super cool. So, Jess, my question to you is, looking back in the last few years, or maybe your lifetime, and maybe it was your therapist, who has been an influential leader in your life that has made the biggest impact?
My therapist
Yes.
is wonderful, but I will say, so I mean, I've already talked about her, but Elizabeth Manning, who used to be the editor of BPN, she was also my manager when we were on the team together, and still is on our executive team. But she took a chance on me. I was a copy editor before I came onto this brand, so it was for a little bit of background there, copy editors really just focused on making sure that the text is all correct. But in editing, you're focused on the bigger picture, on content and getting keyed into the industry and everything. And she took a chance on me there, I think. And I'm so glad she did, because she really helped me grow and blossom into not only an editor, but also a propane editor. Helped me navigate learning a new industry. In fact, we did that together because we acquired, and she became the editor right before she hired me. So we navigated that as a team. And she just taught me a lot about, I would say one of the biggest lessons that I learned from her is not to be so hard on yourself when you don't feel like you've had the day that you wish that you had. We're very cyclical month to month. We go into production on a magazine issue for a couple of weeks, and then for a couple of weeks, we're out of production and we're doing other things. And during production, we're going. And so those few days after it's over, your brain just kind of needs a break. And I would often, when she was my manager, I would often feel down on myself for not getting that much done on the days following production. And she would tell me, it's okay. Your brain, you needed a rest. If you got a few things done, great. But if you didn't get, 10 things done today, it's all going to be okay. You'll get it done. It just didn't happen today. And so I've taken that with me, of really focusing on the things that I did accomplish instead of focusing on the things that I didn't. And just giving yourself a little grace when you need a break. So she really I really feel that she instilled that mindset in me, and I'm really thankful for it because, if I didn't have that, I'd still to this day feel bad about an unproductive day after a busy time. But she's really helped me have a more healthy viewpoint of that, I think. And, everything she did as the leader of this brand prepared me for this role. I model a lot of what I do after her. Some things are different, of course, because we're all going to have different styles and different ideas. But a lot of the things that she did are things that I wanted to take with me into this role of, I really loved how she led our team in this way, and I want to model myself after that as well. So I would say Elizabeth was my biggest influence as a manager and mentor.
That is such spectacular advice. I just want to reiterate that I say that to myself too, because I have a hard time when you can't give 100% all the time. Like that just humanly is not possible. And giving yourself that grace, it just resets your mind a little bit and you come into the day fresh and saying, okay, now I'm going to get XYZ done that day. And it's just a whole different mindset. So that's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Okay, talking about those stressful days, what is something that you do personally to de-stress after an especially difficult day?
Honestly, I'll pull out the eye drops.
Amazing.
My eyes are probably pretty strained reading copy all day. And then after that, I love to sit on the couch with my dog Rosie. She's just got this soft, fluffy fur. She could be therapy in and of herself, just to sit next to her and pet her. So I love to do that. And after my eyes have had a little time to rest, I'll probably pull out a Kindle, or I really love, my friends are going to laugh at me for mentioning this on this podcast, but I really love the British show Taskmaster. And it just makes me laugh. It fills me with joy. So that's like a really good way to decompress as well. If I've had a tough day, like there's nothing can make me laugh like that show. So it's just a good pick me up.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. Okay, so what kind of dog is Rosie?
So she is a mix. She's a rescue.
Good for you.
And we think, thanks. She, it was a lot to get her comfortable because she was really scared, but it was so worth it in the end. She's so sweet. But they thought she was a black lab mix, but she's actually, we believe, German Shepherd and maybe even a little Australian Kelpie.
Oh my goodness.
She's
wow.
She's mostly black, pointy ears, and then she has like the white bib and white paws. She's very pretty. But
is she a lap dog? Like she thinks she's a lap dog, but she's actually huge or ginormous in real life.
She had to learn though. When we first got her, she really thought the way to show love and to like sit on my lap was to just, I'd be sitting on the couch and she would put her paws up on the arm of the couch and just lean against it. Like, well, that's not really how it works. But she has since learned that she can just lay across me instead. And she does love to do that. She's a little couch monster.
Adorable. Dogs are the best therapy ever. I would agree with that.
I actually took her to therapy with me last time, and it was lovely. I just, like I said, petted her the whole time, and
cute.
She was great.
So Jessica, kind of being in the position that you're in and the company that you're in, I'm sure new ideas get generated all the time, something that you can implement. So if that new idea comes to fruition, how do you implement that with your team?
So we just did a reader survey of our readers, and obviously, let me start that over. We just sent out a reader survey and got some responses back from our readers, and that's a great place to find new ideas from the industry. You see trends and what is the most important to them or what they get the most use out of, and then you can kind of brainstorm from there about what ideas to take and put into action. And so when those ideas come up, usually I'll talk to my manager, to Elizabeth, and see what we can do in our company to make that happen, what options we have available. And then we'll usually have, a brainstorming session with our larger team. We'll include, our the other editors on our team is Johnny Nickel, who's the managing editor, and Christina Miller, who is our associate editor, and then Landon Franklin, who you've mentioned before, Freddie, who's our account executive. So we'll come together as a team and talk about what those ideas look like, how we can make them happen, and also we'll need to, if it's something that is going to need to fold into our daily processes, figuring out where that fits in, who has the most bandwidth to take it on, that kind of thing.
That's great. That's awesome. And Jessica, thank you so much for sharing all these stories with us. We know it's not easy to do a podcast. And, before we started, you said something like, usually you're the host of it, but being in the seat that you're a guest now, it can be a little difference in the way you answer those questions. So thank you so much for being with us today. As we kind of wrap up some things here, is there anything that you want to say to all of our listeners or viewers if they're watching it, just to kind of say, what advice would you give anyone that was looking or watching this right now?
I would say, don't sell yourself short. It's very easy to get that imposter syndrome. It's also very easy to compare yourself to somebody who may have come before you, which, I've talked about Elizabeth a lot in this podcast. She was wonderful as an editor. And, I question, how am I ever going to live up to her legacy? But the point is that it's about your legacy. It's about building on what has already been established, and how do you make that yours? How do you, how do you continue on with what worked, but also find ways that you can improve, and not feel like I didn't do it the exact way that this person did it, so I must not have. This probably isn't going to be as successful, or something like that. Don't sell yourself short. Don't compare yourself, and ask all the questions like we talked about earlier. Don't be afraid when you need help with something to reach out, because without those questions, you might make a decision that you might regret later. It's really important, I think, to make sure that you know what path you're on with those questions. And then also, it's just seeking out learning opportunities, always finding ways to learn more about the industry that you're in, and going after those actively, not waiting for somebody to give it to you, but be like, what can I do to improve my position here? What can I do to feel more confident, so that imposter syndrome doesn't weigh on me so much?
And I'll give my closing remarks, and I'll pass over to Jess to give hers. But we've had the privilege to listen to a workshop presenter, James Robillata. He wrote a book called Leading Imperfectly. But the imposter syndrome, I like to use he has a saying that he talks about, or like a quote, and it says, "Are you the person you're supposed to be, or are you yourself?" And that's where I think I kind of sum that up. You went into this role, you kind of knew who you were supposed to be, but you took the path of, let me just be me. Like, you have big shoes to fill. Everyone always says you got big shoes to fill. Well, yeah, that's that person's shoes. I wear my own shoes, right? So I'm glad you brought that up, because it made me think of that. Are you the person you're supposed to be, or are you just yourself? And being yourself is good enough. So that's incredible. Thank you so much for bringing that up. And Jess, anything to
Yes. I feel like the theme of this podcast was, what advice do you have? And I really hope our viewers take a lot of that advice, because it's little nuggets of gold that you have shared with everybody. So thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for giving all that advice to our viewers.
Yes.
Jessica.
Yeah, no problem. I'm so glad to have been here. Like I said, this is a newer role for me, and there can even be some imposter syndrome in answering questions here. So I thank you so much for making this a wonderful experience, and giving me the opportunity to talk to the audience about these things.
Yes, and thank you for the Women Propane Council for having such a great podcast setup. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jess and Jess. Bye. This has been another episode of Through the Leadership Lens, presented by Women in Propane. Be Be sure to subscribe, download, and share with a friend. To learn more about Women in Propane, visit us on Facebook, Instagram, or online at www.womeninpropane.org.